They never gave us 10 cents. And China ate our country alive during Obama and Biden. They ate us alive. And then Biden has some kind of a relationship financially, or his son, with China. Tell me about that, because China ate the United States alive economically, and it's a shame.
So, Mr. President, how do you respond to the Democrats?
No. Pelosi attacked me. She was here. She made a horrible statement that I'm sure she wished she didn't make. She made a horrible statement while I was with the Queen of England, while I was with the President of France. And you're not supposed to do that, okay? But the ones that committed the crimes are the Democrats and others.
On this episode of Just Informed Talk, lies, bribes, and blackmail. The real story behind what happened with the Iran deal and how it may have stretched from here all the way across Europe, including many high-ranking officials who so happen to have orchestrated one of the largest transfers of cash in human history, which would also explain why they've gone so hard against President Trump to try to get him impeached and thrown out of office. You guys are going to want to stick around to watch that, plus a whole lot more. Enjoy. Hi, I'm Craig, and welcome to another episode of Just Informed Talk. As always, I like to say thank you to all my subscribers. Thanks to getting us over 200,000 subscribers, and it really means the world to me, so thank you. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, please come here to the landing page, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications so you get notified when these videos get posted, and hit the like button if you guys like this content and want to see me make more. So here we are, Q Post 3349, May 26, 2019. That is the latest of the Q Posts, and that's just where we're at. We're in a holding pattern, but there is a lot going on. And we're definitely going to be looking back at older posts and then putting them against the news that's coming out today. And look, there's just so much information that we can continue to glean off of what we've been told. There's an entire story there that not only is there one layer of the story, but there's probably about 5 or 10 or 20 or 100 different layers to it. And we're peeling it back one by one, and we're bit by bit getting the truth about what actually happened. And we're starting to be able to tie a lot of these things together, which I think is really important. So with that being said, today's episode is going to be about this thread right here, mostly. Brian Cates, writer for the Epoch Times, he is the famous Twitter account at Draw and Strike, put up this incredible thread that I have to share with you immediately because it ties together basically what QAnon's been saying for the last 2 years with a little bow on it. And it actually has a lot to do with what happened in the UK with Trump's visit and all of this. So there's so much here, so much information. We're going to go ahead and look at that. But before we do that, I also want to say thank you to everybody who has come here and shared these videos, because you guys are what are keeping this channel going. So, you know, they're not going to put it in the suggested box for people if they're not subscribed. So I really encourage everyone to come back here, share these videos on your social media, get the word out that way. That's the way that we go around their censorship. And we're even going to talk about Project Veritas's latest video today, where they discover that Pinterest, I don't know how many people out there have Pinterest. Please, down in the description or down in the comments, I want to hear how many of you actually use Pinterest, because I've never really used it. But apparently Pinterest is like anti-Christian and people who are they're pro-abortion, pro-choice. Let's put it that way. So it's just incredible to me as you see it happening in real time. But please share these videos, keep doing it. And if you're scratching your head going, what is QAnon? What is Great Awakening? What is this guy babbling about? This is the video you're probably going to want to watch. So I'm going to go ahead and give you a strong recommendation to watch this video. It'll give you all the information about QAnon, the Great Awakening, how it started, where it's come to. And that's a great tool for you guys to use. But with that being said, we're going to go here. And what we're going to do, we're going to first read through this full thread because it's that important. Then I'm going to kind of go through it. There's some things that I can tie together there too into this thread that I think Brian kind of just, skipped over because there's just a lot of information here. But I'll try my best to do that. And then we're going to talk about Q posts that kind of talk about the most important aspect of this, which is, I think, the money. And you have to look at these slush funds and how they were put together, because that's what this story is going to end up being about. But we're going to get into that, plus so much more. So you guys are going to want to stick around and check this out. I'm going to start right here with this first one. So let's get started. did you all notice what happened right after, or right before and then immediately after Trump's UK visit? Of course, it says May announced just before Trump got there that she's stepping down. Trump leaving the UK was immediately followed by the revelation that the Cameron-May governments hid a bunch of Iranian Hezbollah terrorists getting caught with a bomb factory in northwest London. Goes on to say, bomb factory where they'd stockpiled over 3 tons of ammonium nitrate. For comparison, the Oklahoma City was 2 tons. Then it talks about how it's 3 tons and how they would have had more. And of course, the Cameron-May governments made the deliberate decision to hide the Hezbollah terrorists funded and directed by Iran getting caught in northwest London with this massive bomb stockpile from both the UK government and UK lawmakers for 4 years. Why? To protect the deal. Now, this is where it gets, the Iran deal. This is where it really gets interesting. So what Brian Cates is positing is that everything that was done was to protect this Iran deal. Now, what was the Iran deal? We're going to read here in a second that it wasn't just about them trying to help to appease what was happening in the Middle East. There was actually a much more deep and sinister reason for it. And mind you, this is a theory at this point, but let's hear it out because I think it's very important to listen to this. So it says, so it wasn't just Obama and Kerry and Rhodes over on this side of the pond bending over backwards to save the Iran deal by appeasing the mullahs and shipping billions of dollars to the world's #1 funder and director of terrorism worldwide. It says, you had the UK government taking pains to keep this terror plot hidden so the Iran deal could remain in place. Ponder that for a minute. Why would you cover for people who were sponsoring, directing terrorists who were preparing to blow up thousands of your own citizens? It says, understand this clearly. We're not talking about the usual run-of-the-mill truck bomb here. We're talking about the Hezbollah people, goons. We're planning something massive. So then it says, whatever kind of leverage the mullahs got over Obama, Kerry, Clinton, Cameron, May, etc., it must have been huge to make them act like this. Handing these Iranian terror mongers billions of dollars while actively covering up their attempts to launch terror attacks in the West. It says, my working theory on this is that during the Obama first term, Hillary Clinton and others worked tirelessly to gin up massive bribes for themselves from foreign hostile powers like Iran, China, and lesser extent Russia. Hundreds of millions of dollars was invested, quote unquote. And then he edits it to say it was for, not from. It says, these people were too greedy and stupid to realize how they were opening themselves up to massive blackmail and absolutely ruthless hostile powers. In the second term, the bill came due. Starting in 2012, many people, myself included, were struck at how relentlessly people like Obama, Kerry, Rhodes, and many in the Euro governments were acting like they were there to negotiate on behalf of Iran during the setup of the nuclear deal. After taking massive bribes from Russian, Chinese, and Iranian sources, the Obama administration and the European government officials who enriched themselves with these illegal bribes then found themselves trapped in blackmail. Trust me on this, the hostile foreign powers got every penny back. It says, how did Russia and Iran and China get every penny back they invested in the massive bribes to set up stuff like Uranium One and the Iran deal? They blackmailed these Western government officials into massive concessions, and even in the case of Iran, giving billions of taxpayer dollars over to them. Picture how this worked and get exceedingly angry. Somebody like Hillary Clinton takes over $100 million in bribes from Russians to set up Uranium One. Russians then make demands and threatens to expose her if she doesn't do exactly as she ordered. So what all this is saying up till this point is it's basically some working theory that we've been looking at on this channel for a while. And it's talking about the fact that there was possible blackmail on the side of the individuals who were going after President Trump. We're looking at the Obama administration, but it goes even worse. The Clinton Foundation funneled all this money into its coffers, and then when the bill came due in the second term of Obama's presidency, his little conversation with the former president of Russia, Medvedev, saying, wait till I get reelected, I'll have more. We can do more, and I'll be able to do more, and I won't have to. I can't remember the exact quote, but you guys know what I'm talking about. And he says I'll have a lot more room or something. But this to me is just indicative of the fact that our government officials were so corrupt that they actually allowed themselves to take bribes from foreign governments, which then the foreign governments, after giving them the bribes, turned around and blackmailed them with. That's what this is alleging here. Do you see where we're going with this? So think about it this way. Everything that Q's been talking about from day one has had to do with this insinuation, the allegation that there were bribes taken by government officials in our country, which were then turned around and used to blackmail them. And now we're seeing it come to light. So then it goes on to say, it says, she ends up literally becoming an unregistered foreign agent who is working for a hostile foreign power while she's Secretary of State. Now look at John Kerry and company that pulled off that Iran deal. I have no doubt that massive under-the-table bribery went on to make it happen. Yeah, just look at John Kerry. His son is connected to the Christopher Hines, I think, who is, I believe, connected to Devon Archer, who is connected to Hunter Biden. And you know the news that's coming out of China with Hunter Biden and this Rosemont Seneca firm and his $1.5 billion deal that was struck with China right after he flew on Air Force Two with his dad, and his dad made big concessions to the Chinese for their 9-dash line in the South China Sea in order to make it a territorial claim that was recognized by the U.S., with the establishment of those fake islands that were put up as and now have military bases literally in the middle of the South China Sea. Do you see where this is all like connected? That's what I'm hoping, because again, this shouldn't be a partisan thing. I think whether you're on the right or left, I mean, you can see clearly if you're objective and logical and kind of trying to take a step back, that what they're doing, what they're engaged in, is a form of psychological warfare where it's like, whatever you're really guilty of, you're going to want to accuse that person of that. So Kerry, Obama, Clinton, the rest of them. That's just what this is alleging, and that's what it seems to look like to me, just from an outside perspective here. It says, Iran makes bribes under the table, greedy U.S. and Euro government officials take the money and line their personal accounts with it. Then Iran drops the hammer on them. Do what you're told or we'll expose what you did. Now send us billions of your country's tax dollars. They have to do it. It says any bribes Iran paid to get that Iran deal set up, you can bet they got it all back and more. Only the money they got back from the Western officials they bribed didn't come out of the officials' pockets. Not a penny. It came from the tax-paying citizens. It goes on. As more revelations occur in the coming months, keep this firmly in mind. There was a reason these Western officials worked tirelessly to protect the Iran deal despite Iran not meeting its terms even while they were getting caught planning terror attacks in the West. This is insane. It's all connected. The bribes, the Uranium One sale, plus lots of other shady things like the Iran deal, covering up attempted terror attacks and plots, massive foreign bribery going on in Western governments under the table, and spying on Trump and then trying to take him out. It says these Western government officials could not afford to have any of this corruption and treason come to light. Hillary Clinton wins in 2016 election, all is well. Everything would have just continued on as it had been. Donald Trump wins, all you-know-what breaks loose. It says they simply could not take the chance that Trump might win. They could not let an establishment outsider anywhere near the office of the executive, even with Hillary being the overwhelming favorite to win. Steps were taken to ensure the Trump campaign was sabotaged. It says here's why Comey, McCabe, Brennan, Clapper, and their ilk were supremely confident, even in January of 2017, that they could successfully manage a very brief Trump presidency of about a year. Far too many people across far too many Western governments are involved in all of this. And that's one thing that I think, we really have to focus on this. So making sense of what we've been covering here for who knows how long. Why is Brennan and Comey and Clapper and McCabe and all of them, why did they believe that they were untouchable? It wasn't just because, some of them were in this SES and all this other stuff. It's because they knew the scale of the conspiracy that they were involved in. They knew the scale of the crime and corruption that they were involved in. And they knew there were too many national security interests at stake for them to ever be exposed. So to them, in their mind, they can get on national TV and say whatever they want because they're somehow protecting some national security, which is to cover up the crimes that they committed and were involved in covering up. And you're just like, what? I mean, this is where we've come to, ladies and gentlemen. And I really just implore you as a logical, a rational, objective person, take this and weigh it on your own principles and whatever you see as what applies here. But I think as far as the law goes, and as far as what our society would expect from any of us as regular citizens, if you did any of these things that they've done as a regular citizen, you'd probably be in jail for the rest of your life, if not worse, facing something worse. So I just don't even know how this comes. And then, of course, it comes here, Trump has no real idea what he's coming up against, is a quote. And it says, they chortled to themselves, picturing Trump either being forced to resign or impeached after a very tumultuous and brief time in the White House. Actually, these goons had no idea what they were up against. And it says, oh, but they know now, don't they? It took Trump and his people about 2.5 years to get things to this point, but here we are. People will tell you it's just amazing coincidence that May stepped down and the Hezbollah plot was revealed, bookended the Trump's UK visit. But it says people will tell you it's just an amazing coincidence that the Mueller special counsel witch hunt that was supposed to get Trump impeached or to resign somehow ended up being turned to purposes of enforcing FARA laws about unregistered foreign agents and bribes. Now, this is probably the best point I think he comes to here in his conclusion of this. I mean, this is it. This is it. This is like everything Q's been telling us from day one, how they were going to do it. They were going to say, you know, they're going to run for political office, and then when they get indicted, they're going to say it's a form of political harassment. Trump's trying to turn our country into a dictatorship by going after his political opponents, when there actually there's mountains of evidence that show these people were engaged in crime and corruption at the highest levels, right? And then what they did is they weaponized the Mueller investigation to start enforcing, to go after like Manafort for these FARA law violations, so that when they start getting brought up for these FARA law violations, they can go, oh, well, look, you know, they're just trying to retaliate because we got Manafort for FARA. So now they're just trying to come after us. And you're like, dude, this is insanity. Okay. And think about Manafort's position. Manafort was like a very limited time campaign manager, you know, advisor to the president, where he barely lasted, I don't know, it was a few months during the campaign. He was helping President Trump out, and absolutely no evidence of him colluding with Russia and Trump or anything at all. And as a matter of fact, all of his charges are completely unrelated to President Trump's campaign. But then on the other side, you have people like the president. You have people like the Secretary of State. You have people who are like the former multiple Secretary of States involved in these incredible crimes and corruption. And this goes to everything we've talked about here since day one. If you want to go back and look, I mean, we have so many different Q posts. It's almost impossible to understand how much information that we already have. But one of the things I was focusing on for this was slush funds. Q mentions slush funds a lot and gives us a lot of information. And the first thing he kind of asked us about what slush fund was shut down by AG Sessions. And if you guys will remember, Jeff Sessions was the one who ordered the DOJ to shut down payments into these leftist organizations. Now, this was basically a slush fund that was established by the Obama administration, where what they would do is they would have these options. You could opt out. So I guess if like corporations would get sued, then they could, instead of paying the government, they could opt out of paying the government, in restitution for whatever crimes they committed, and give it to any charity that's been approved, quote unquote, by the government itself. So you're talking about, this is how Obama was funneling corporate money and using litigation to extort corporations, and then funneling the monies paid by the corporations in restitution into their own NGO, non-governmental organizations, which were basically acting as slush funds for them. I mean, you can't, like, I can't even stress how hard it would be to make this stuff up. I'm not that smart, so please fact check all of this stuff if you want, but that's where we're at. And of course, you keep reading through, and Q gives us all of an idea of where these slush funds were going and what does it mean to have them. What it means is that this is how they got money through, and how it was put in the back pockets of those who were controlling our politics here in this country. And it was all funneled through these mean big players, the $1 trillion players, the plus and plus, House of Saudi royal family, the Rothschilds and the Soroses. So this is like we have to look at this objectively. Please, please. This is my plea to people out there is, whatever side of the coin you're on, Q's explained this all to us, that the Paris Accord was a scam. Sometimes I'm sure the Red Cross does great work, but there's a lot of evidence that would show that there's been a lot of abuse of that organization. You have foreign aid, which is a scam. And then you have war, which is a scam anyway, because it's just all of these trillions and billions of dollars which are being funneled through these organizations. I think that some of them are used for money laundering, some of them are used for just extorting, and some of them are used for just literally stealing money, just straight up taking it. So the slush funds are everywhere. And we were already told how much these people were paid. I mean, this is how much our country allegedly was sold out for, $29 million for a Hussein slush fund in Singapore. Another one, we don't say his name, sold out for 19 in Singapore. Good old Hillary and Bill allegedly here say 15 million in Mexico, and Nancy Pelosi 8 million in Deutsche Bank, and on and on and on and on. These are all alleged figures, but let's think about it this way. The reality is what we are up against is so much bigger and so much more important that we confront it than anything else that we will ever face in our time. If we don't, we'll lose our country to these criminals, the people who are trying to extort the politicians to get the policies. I mean, are you happy as a taxpayer, whether you are in the left or the right, that billions of dollars went to the Iranians, who are obviously one of the largest state sponsors of terror in the world, who obviously commit heinous human rights abuses, who, are you happy that Obama set up a deal where he gave them billions of dollars? And if so, could you explain why? When they chant death to America? Anyway, that is what that is. So a few more things before we go. Obviously, when we talk about what this blackmail could be, there might be a reason why they're freaking out on every one of these websites, including the New York Times and so many others, where they're saying deep fakes are coming and we can no longer believe what we see. And of course here, this is Vice.com, the deep fake of Mark Zuckerberg tests Facebook's fake video policies. And you watch this video and it's just so ridiculous. It sounds nothing like him. You can tell the mouth's not right. And but it's still, we all know eventually it'll probably get to the point where you can't tell the difference. But for now, hopefully it'll stay to this point where you really can. And what I'm thinking to myself, though, as I'm reading through these stories is what could they be so terrified of that they've worked night and day to try to get ahead of, because they are fearful that something's going to come out that's going to show somebody doing something that they're not going to like. And maybe there's some talks going on behind the scenes to try to keep this from happening. But of course, it's not like we're all being not being suppressed here on the internet as it is. And the newest and latest story from Project Veritas here, Tech Insider blows the whistle on how Pinterest listed top pro-life site as porn, and Bible verses are censored. So this was an in-depth report. I want you guys to go watch it or read it. I'll leave a link to it in the description. And what it talks about is the fact that a top insider or tech insider from Pinterest basically brought a bunch of documents and showed internal documents from the company that have exposed the fact that they were listing pro-life websites in the porn category, so they were blocked on the website. They were writing their algorithms to basically discriminate against Christians. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. And it's like, why do they hate Christians so much? I'm an evangelical Christian. I feel like we're being discriminated and just completely, put into a second-class citizen role here on a daily basis, because you look at these big tech companies, it's almost like they hate us. And I don't understand why. I don't know what I did to them. I have an opinion. I love God. I share his word. I share the light, the grace, the glory. I try to save people. I try to help them see that they are saved through God, I guess. I should more appropriately say that. But, I mean, it's just, there's no hatred here. It's just, I can't understand it. And here's another story that I thought was funny. I thought I'd just close on this. But it says why it isn't weird for Russian sailors to sunbathe shirtless on deck while confronting a U.S. Navy cruiser. So this was a big story you guys heard about a Russian Navy ship that didn't move, and then the U.S. Navy ship had to move, and it was a big story that was picked up by the mainstream media, and they were like, Russian confrontation at the high seas or whatever. And when you actually read the story, the hilarious part is, I mean, look at these guys. They're not ready for war. The Russians are sitting on their deck sunbathing. I bet you there's probably nobody up at the dang helm, and they have it on autopilot, and they're down there sunbathing on the front deck. And of course, you got so the U.S. Navy ship has to turn, and all of a sudden the headline comes out in Drudge, Russian ship makes U.S. Navy ship stand down. It's like, no, maybe they were just like, maybe they drank a little too much vodka and were getting a little tipsy and forgot about captaining the actual ship itself. But that's a great way to look at it and to look at a story and go, oh, well, that's what a fake news headline means. Like, that's what President Trump means when he says fake news. So just thought I'd share that, and that's a good way to wrap it up. Of course, a few more things before we go. I would like you guys to come here and watch these videos, share them on your social media. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell for notifications and hit the like button if you guys like this content and want to see me make more. Leave your thoughts, theories, and insights in the description. I want to hear what you guys have to say about all this, because that's truly what I do this for, is to have the conversation and to get everybody kind of talking about what's going on, sharing this information with your friends, and having a conversation around it. So that, and obviously to share God's grace and God's glory first and foremost. But with that, I would also like to say a few other ways you can help out the channel. Come over here and find me on Twitter at JustInformYou on Twitter. You get all my funny, clever, hilarious, awesome tweets. That's a cool way you connect with the channel. Also, come check out justinformednews.com. Justinformednews.com. It's the official website for Just Informed Talk. You'll get all of the latest you have all the access to the Q stuff, access to different news websites, late breaking news, and also here you'll have all of the videos from the website, the channel here on YouTube, and I encourage you to check that out. Also, new channel I just put up, Just Informed Podcast. Come check it out. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell for notifications, and new content will be coming here very, very shortly. Also, a couple other ways you can help out the channel. Come over here and support me on Patreon, the crowdfunding website. It's patreon.com. You just come here, click this button, and become a patron, and you guys are what keep this channel alive. You're what keep the content coming, and all I can say is, we're coming up against incredible odds all the time here on YouTube with the way that everything's changing and demonetization happens. So without you guys, this channel wouldn't be alive. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I also have a GoFundMe set up if you want to make a one-time or anonymous donation. That keeps the channel alive as well. So thank you so much for your contributions, and I really, really, truly appreciate it. So with that being said, before we go, we do a segment at the end of each one of these episodes called God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. For tonight's episode, I'm going to read for you Psalm 11, and it talks about refuge in the Lord, and I think this is very appropriate given what we talked about here tonight. It says, and I just want to share this first of all before I read the verse. It's the full Psalm 11. People always ask me, are you worried about this? You worried about that? I said, no, I put my faith in the Lord, and I take refuge in the Lord, and that's what this whole thing's about, this verse we're going to read. So I hope that this helps you understand why, fear is a liar, and we should, in our own lives, the only thing that we should truly fear is God above, and that's what I want to share with you. So here, I'll read it. Psalm 11. I have taken refuge in the Lord. How can you say to me, escape to the mountain like a bird? For look, the wicked string the bow. They put the arrow on the bowstring to shoot from the shadows at the upright in heart. When the foundations are destroyed, what can the righteous do? The Lord in his holy temple, the Lord's throne is in heaven. His eyes watch. He examines everyone. The Lord examines the righteous and the wicked. He hates the lover of violence. He will rain burning coals and sulfur on the wicked. A scorching wind will be their portion. For the Lord is righteous. He loves righteous deeds. The upright will see his face. So, taking refuge in the Lord is trusting in the Lord. And that's really, I think, what we all should put into our hearts. We should put into our hearts that trusting the Lord is the key to salvation. The Lord has come to give us this eternal life through the sacrifice of his Son on the cross for our sins. And the Holy Spirit lives in us every day to push us to become better and to spread that message to others and to have that be the cure for our society. Because as I said before, there's nothing material in this world that's going to cure a broken soul. There's nothing that we can, tangibly grab onto that's going to, fix what is spiritually broken. And that's one of the biggest problems we have today, I believe. So spread this to your friends, your family, your neighbors, your coworkers. Do little things. Say a prayer. Say God bless you. Say a prayer at dinner in public. And maybe somebody will see you do that and go, I really miss praying. I really miss my connection with God. I miss having that, because believe me, it can happen, and you can multiply your grace or multiply your blessings times 100 or 1,000 or 1,000,000 or infinity with God and your side. So that's where I'm going to leave it. I want to say thank you for watching this episode of Just Informed Talk. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't. Make sure you hit the like button, hit it, smash it, punch it, whatever. If you guys like this content and want to see me make more, that's going to be it for me, though. I want to say thank you for watching Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.